Buzzworthy Radio is on. The entertainment show that gets you up close and personal with today's hottest stars. Here's your host, Novell J. Lee.
Hey guys, it's Novell J. Lee, and welcome into a new Buzzcast here at Buzzworthy Radio. I'm so excited to be back with you guys with a brand new show, and what better way to kick off the new season with Pierson Fodé, who stars as Thomas Forster on CBS Daytime's The Bold and the Beautiful. We got to talk to him a little bit about how the character is being explored a lot more ever since Pierson came on and took over the role, as well as him joining the show. We also talked to him about the indie film that he did last year called Naomi and Eli's No Kiss List, which premieres exclusively on iTunes on September 18th. All that and more with Pierson Fodé. Check it out. This is Pierson Fodé. I had to find out how to officially pronounce his last name because I knew I was going to mess it up. So I made sure I got it before I spoke to him. And
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I'll know you're a telemarketer by how you call my last name.
Oh, so that's how that works. See, now I know exactly how that works now with telemarketers, because my first name is difficult to pronounce by some people. So if I know that it's them, they don't know how to say my first name. So that's good.
And how exactly do you pronounce your first name?
Novell.
Your preferred way.
Novell.
Novell.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's how I had a friend pronounce it as well. So.
See, people say the other formulations of the name. Naval, since it's spelled like naval, but with it, novel. I even got an Avon from that, so it's.
No way.
I'm not kidding you. I literally got an Avon from that name, so.
That is fantastic.
I thought so. This is pretty much my favorite one to date, and now all my friends call me Avon. I feel like I should.
Actually, can I call you that from here on out?
Sure, why not? I'm not going to stop you. Everyone else does.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. So this new friend of mine that's now going to call me by my nickname Avon stars on The Bold and the Beautiful as Thomas Forster, and he just came in guns blazing. I mean, you just hit the ground running when you came in and took over this role.
It's been a crazy ride. I mean, they really started writing for me heavy from day one, and trying to catch up to the speed at which they shoot was a bit of a mind blast at first. But I eventually caught up, and coming from the indie world where we shoot 3 to 12 pages a day, going to straight 30 to 40 pages a day, and 2 episodes at that was a little overwhelming.
Sure.
At first.
But now you kind of now got the swing of it. For sure.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Good.
I'm finally settling into a rhythm, and I feel comfortable with the character. And, we've gotten to the point now that we're adding really some deep, dark layers to him and very human concepts that he's struggling with,
Yeah, I kind of said on Twitter one day, like father, like son, because he seems to be echoing a lot of Ridge mentalities lately, especially when it comes to his father's lovely lady, played by the beautiful Lindsay Godfrey. Obviously seeing this whole thing happen when Eric and Brooke were together and Ridge was coming in between of those two. I'm now seeing history repeat itself with the dad with a younger woman, and here's the son trying to recapture that one that he once lost not too long ago. So that I'm sure you heard about that, but if not, that's got to be a very interesting story to play.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like you said, like father, like son, the apple really does not fall far from the tree. And it's funny, history repeats itself. And ultimately, I think that's what really intrigues us, is we want to see if this person was able to correct the mistakes that were made in the past, or if they will fall into the same pathway that their elders once did. And, it's funny, too, even the whole thing with the recent episode that aired, playing along the lines of, us getting intoxicated and there being a miscommunication about not wanting to make love and wanting to make love, and, that being a very confusing and tentative subject to portray. I believe Brooke and Ridge played that very similar scenario back in 2006 or 9. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I'd have to get my post-date marks out of there. But,
For someone that's doing this, I should actually know when that took place, but I don't.
Hey, you know what? That's okay. I'll forgive you for this one time, though.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. I appreciate that.
I got you.
Awesome. He's got me. But what was it for you coming into this role as a recast? There was 2 other actors that played it before you did, and you come in after that. What was it like coming in, playing this part that other fans have seen Adam and seen Drew Tyler Bell play this part, and then all of a sudden you come in, and the first thing I've automatically seen on Twitter was like, damn, he is so awesome. Like, how was that coming in, taking over this role from 2 other people that are known by a lot of fans and settling into this part?
Well, that's always an uncomfortable situation to be in when you've had somebody do the role before you and you know you're going to be compared to them no matter what. And some people will say, oh, my God, you're hotter. And some people will say, oh, my God, they were hotter. Get this one off, And it's just always they get very topical with their conversation. But ultimately, it comes down to a portrayal and the truthfulness in the role. And, these 2 guys held the reins for a long time. And, Drew won an Emmy for his performance. And, that's you want to do a good job. And actually, I made sure that I didn't watch any of their performances.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of an actor's trap as far as we go in and we want to make sure that we're authentic to the role and not authentic to an idea that we have about the role.
Okay.
And so I went in and I read about all their performances and I read about the history of the character and I created a backstory that essentially created life in Thomas that, gave him established relationships with different people and what had happened with him and Brooke and him and Steffi and, his once long ago marriage, and just it complicated him. And then, because, if you're sitting there trying to emulate somebody else the whole time, you're going to lose.
Right.
Unless you're playing a biopic of, Steve Jobs. You should not try to emulate the other actor before you, but only the traits of a character that you should be emulating as far as pain and agony and happiness and different things like that.
And I agree with you. I don't think that once an actor takes over a role that was previously played by someone else, I don't think they should try to emulate that. I think they need to come and make the role their own, and you've done that. And
thank you.
We couldn't be any more happier for you, actually, on the show. And you worked with so many talented people. And there was a scene I wanted to bring up that literally just sent me back to the point where I said, "Holy!" And then there's a word that I cannot say, but it was the scene where Torsten Kay, who plays Ridge, your on-screen dad on the show, literally ripped the design in front of you and literally just threw you to the wolves. And I'm just sitting there, jaw on the floor, could not believe it, and I was just so mesmerized by that scene and playing that scene. What was going through your mind when you did that?
Utter shock and pain. We get into these situations where we want somebody to say, wow, this is a really good job, and we have our expectations. And have you ever seen 500 Days of Summer?
I have not, but I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, though.
There's this beautiful scene in 500 Days of Summer where it has the expectation versus reality side by side playing out. And it shows Joseph Gordon-Levitt walking up to this girl's apartment, to who he's in love with, and it shows the expectation, what he has in his mind of, her coming to the door and answering him, and he has these flowers and blah, blah, blah. And it plays out in this very romantic way. And then the reality scene that is playing right next to it shows her not coming to the door. Actually, her friend comes to the door, and it's not romantic, and she's there with another guy, and she's actually into this other guy, and so his heart is broken, and it's that.
Oh.
We go into a situation where we want this approval and this love from somebody that we admire and respect, and especially, my father.
Yeah.
in the show, and he wanted to have his approval, and he wanted his dad to finally say, "I'm really proud of you. Good job," and it was just handled in such a different way. And instead of saying, "Hey, you know what, you can do better than this. Why don't we work on it together?" He tore it up and titled it, and that's the whole such a deep wound,
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was like I said, it was very intense, and it was also one of those things where I was sitting there going, like, you just basically castrated your son without any hesitation, without any remorse, and all this, all he wanted was just your approval. That he can do this. I mean, if the design was not up to par, then it wasn't up to par. But you didn't have to rip it to shreds in front of his face. I mean, that was just. Damn.
It's cruel.
That's really the only word I had for it. I was like, damn, dude. But it was a great scene. So I gotta commend you for that. That was just intense.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And it was great. It was a fun one to play out because, Thomas, here's the great part about Thomas is he's so human and he's so caught up in trying to do the right thing while at the same time still caught up with emotions and feelings and hurt and pain that he ends up kind of doing the wrong thing at times.
Yeah.
And that's like all of us. We're trying to do the right thing and we think this might be the right thing to do, and then our emotions get the best of us and we do something else. And with this many deep wounds that Thomas is bringing to the table, it's difficult for him to process rationally sometimes. And if my dad, took a movie that I did and broke it in front of my face and said I was an awful actor, I would be heartbroken.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that would be such a painful thing to experience. That's Thomas's life now. And I can only imagine the consequences. So.
Not just with that, but also with Carolina as well. And I, as you touched on just now when you were talking, it's very good that we're seeing more of these layers to Thomas that we never saw before. So you getting to play those layers it's a great thing, and it's also giving us more as to what makes Thomas tick a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that should be interesting to see on screen as well as to play. So I'm very happy that they're giving more depth to the character, which we haven't seen before.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on this too. There's an indie film that you apparently did last year that's being released on iTunes on the 18th of this month.
Yes, it is.
Called Naomi and Eli's No Kiss List. You play Eli in the film, who is a gay guy, and Naomi, played by Victoria Justice, who most of my listeners, as well as myself, because I used to watch it, know from Nickelodeon's Victorious, as well as Zoe 101. And apparently the two fall in love with the same guy.
Yeah. So complicated as it is, it's a really great coming of age story that happens in New York, and it's about this unrequited love. So it's about a girl, Naomi, Victoria, who loves a boy, me, Eli, who loves a boy, who's actually Victoria's boyfriend in the show or in the movie, who turns out, might not feel the same way about girls that he thought he did, and might be interested in Eli as well. There's some things that come up with that, and it's the unrequited love that Eli can't give back to Naomi, and her struggling with that, and how they process their friendship through that, and how complicated that can be. And I mean, it doesn't have to be a gay thing. It's a life thing. How many times have we fallen in love with anyone who just did not feel the same about us?
Absolutely.
Guy or girl, it doesn't even matter. We've fallen in love with somebody that just was not into us.
Absolutely. And I can attest to that myself. So it's the truth, guys. It really is. It happens.
Yeah, it's so true. It happens all the time. And so it's a really fun story about that sort of emotion and feeling towards someone. And there's some parts that were really